I don't know. If you look at that map and the areas that they have that you say could end up in this peace agreement, that's true. And that's why we should have never provoked them. I mean, they made very clear that there was a red line. The red line was a neutrality for Ukraine, that they could not enter NATO. And in the end, when they get this, if they get this peace agreement, in the end, that's probably going to end up being the case anyway.
No.
I bet you that one of the conditions will have to be that Ukraine promise to remain neutral, will not be part of NATO.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can never give in to what Russia wants other nations to do. You decide, they're going to decide you go into NATO, you go into the European Union, when they're a European society that wants that.
Well, we have a Monroe Doctrine, and I think we would be very concerned about this kind of action in our hemisphere.
Don't do it.
I think he said, keep it neutral. And in the end, probably Ukraine is going to lose more land because of this. Again, the main problem here, as you see, and as we discussed, actually, the main problem is still China. And now we've created a bigger bloc, China and Russia together. This is why our policymakers
they've never
are
been
thinking
together before
long
this.
term. Right. Provoking this war has brought our two enemies closer together.
They provoked the war.
Well, they had a red line. And we had an agreement in November with a security agreement.
They can't make a red line on other countries, Rachel. It's not up to them to make a red line on other countries.
This is
How is Brian Kilmeade this correct?
Ukraine, and they could have remained a free country. We could have armed them. We could have actually...
Right, no, you understand. Russia got their way. They lost their stooge in an election. The minute they lost their stooge in an election, it had nothing to do with us.
He's talking about Trump, right?
They took Crimea and the two Donbass regions. And they said, we're going to do more unless you put our guy back.
Well, no, they're talking about...
We're going to put your guy back. We're going to have more elections. And then Zelensky beats Poroshenko. And now he established himself with 70% of the vote. Why should a democracy give up because Vladimir Putin's a lunatic?
Well, what is happening on the ground?
It's the reality. He is who he is. It's called realism.
Brian Kilmeade was 100% correct. Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. What the fuck universe are we in? Brian Kilmeade, welcome to the Resistance.
That's not all. That's not all. So,
Jesus.
Rand Paul was right about something yesterday.
Impossible, Brad.
No, he was the only. The Republicans did like an internal vote amongst themselves to, God, what the fuck was it about? I think it was about reauthorizing the JCPOA.
Oh, okay.
And all the Republicans in the Senate voted or did not support reauthorizing the JCPOA. Rand Paul did not vote with them in this instance because he said, since there's no agreement in place, to vote against this is voting against diplomacy in itself. He's like, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You can't vote against something when there's no agreement in place. You can't vote against the concept of an agreement. I'm like, Rand Paul is correct.
Someone hit that guy. Say something dumb again. This feels uncomfortable.
Now, granted, if we did work to reauthorize the JCPOA,
100%
would not vote in favor of it. But his point was sound, which was also shocking. So it must just be dumb white libertarian Republicans are actually right once in a blue moon day. I guess with the times change. The Ides of March, there's a variety of reasons that this could
is Mercury in retrograde or some other random phenomenon. I don't know. That clip is amazing because you can literally watch Brian Kilmeade go through all the emotions of what the fuck are you talking about?
Dumbfounded. Meanwhile, Steve Doocy sat there completely nonplussed. His reaction didn't change. To the point where I wonder if he's going to call up, old Petey boy and be like, "Hey, Pete Doocy, next time tomorrow when you're in the press conference, why don't you ask them why we provoked Russia into invading you?"
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Why don't you ask Jen Psaki his question?
Yeah,
it felt like a good idea.
Yeah, and then Jen Psaki can come in and give Peter Doocy the razor's edge in respect to the passing of Scott Hall to once again embarrass him because tomorrow is a day that ends in Y.
I got to tell you something. So I'm a pretty handsome guy, but I'm not I'm not like TV cable news. I'm not like TV cable news handsome. I wish that I was, because I feel like I could make a lot of money being a straight, white, handsome man on Fox News, just saying like the most ridiculous shit. Like, I don't even have to think about it. Like, I could just say anything that comes to my mind.
You could say this has any real. You could say it has something to do with the Monroe Doctrine, which is pulled wildly out of her ass that she just heard about yesterday.
Like I could be like, I can't believe like seeing all the sites from Ukraine. It's very similar to when we did the Trail of Tears. Like, we're doing the same thing in Ukraine as we do with the Trail of Tears, and it's so exciting to watch them, like, their own Trail of Tears as they trail back towards Kyiv or Kiev, as some people call it. And like, and it's just so great to see the Ukraine fighting so hard. But really, they should embrace Vladimir Putin, much like they did during the Emancipation Proclamation.
just random historical things, just to say anything. Look, they employed Jesse Waters. Like, what's the worst thing you could say, right? They employed this woman who apparently, like she stopped messing around and started getting real by living in a house with several strangers at one point or another.
Yeah,
like
we should never pass the Magna Carta, Jay, because if we hadn't done that, then Russia would not have been provoked into starting this conflict.
Dude, like, hearing conservatives say that Joe Biden and the U.S. government provoked Russia into attacking Ukraine is wild as fuck. Dude, they've been trying to attack Ukraine for years, well before Joe Biden was president. Shocking news. Donald Trump was president first, right? In this entire fucking fiasco. He was definitely president when the first shots were fired during this. Like,
I don't think they can. It's so funny. It's ironic for being as non-interventionist as they claim to be. I don't think that Republicans can physically or like mentally picture a conflict going on anywhere in the world that America's not involved in. So like, they have to accept us in somehow, because they're like, if there's a war, surely we must be fighting it.
I mean, that's kind of our thing, guys. Like, we are into that shit. Yeah, it's like,
I don't know if you know, but we really love fucking killing people with guns. I'm just saying.
In a different country, are they brown? Holy shit, let's fucking rock and roll. That is our whole kink. We are into that shit. So yeah, it's really weird to sit there and watch them desperately try to convince everyone that, like, oh yeah, Joe Biden provoked this war. How? By saying, hey, don't do that. And they're like, no, I'm going to do it. Like, that's not, like, if you tell your kid, like, if they're climbing on, a cabinet, and you're like, hey, don't do that. You didn't provoke them into climbing on the cabinet. That's basically what you're saying, which makes no sense. Like,
well, plus it completely, like, writes off the the fucking autonomy of Europe. Like there's a whole lot of other countries too that have a lot more skin in the game that we do.
Or it does what happens here domestically, which is it actually gives cover to Vladimir Putin. Well, the U.S. They pushed him into this. Nobody told him to, like, put a bunch of troops on the border for the last couple of years, waiting for the opportunity to invade Ukraine. No one told him that. No, Joe Biden did. When? Like her point is so poor, because she's basically saying, well, Putin was provoked. One, she doesn't actually list a detail about how the U.S. provoked the war. She just said the shit, like, as if this is a known fact, which it is not. But
news to Brian Kilmeade.
Yeah, he was like, not fucking buying it, rightfully so. But she says that, but her ultimate point is that it's Ukraine's fault because they tried to join the European Union. That's not a bad thing, dude. That's a positive thing. But
it's also not, like, it's silly to be like, oh, like, they provoked this into happening. Well, they're supposed to be a sovereign country, right? Like they should be.
She's like, no, it's not.
They should be allowed to do whatever the fuck they want to do. And if Russia gets bent about it, then that's their problem.
Yeah. Right. And so she's basically like, they shouldn't be like, her argument is, when it comes down to it, they don't get to make the rules for their sovereign nation because Russia's bigger than them. That's it. Well, like, that's it. Like, she's basically like she's almost dealing with Ukraine and Russia's relationship like how the US deals with Puerto Rico. Like, yo, they're not a colony of Russia. Like, that's not how this shit works. Like,
honestly, it's just the imperial mindset. Like, I mean, we talked a couple weeks ago about, like, what Russia's doing is not any different than what we've seen throughout thousands of years of history. It's just like, like, we're bigger than you, so we're going to tell you what to do, and if you don't like it, we're going to come and kick the shit out of you, or try to.
Yeah, and take over. Least. Yeah. I mean, and her including China. Well, now China and Russia together. Hello, they've been together for fucking the last 10 years plus.
Well, like at some point, like she moved off what her idea of a cogent point was, and it just seemed like she tried to throw together as many like fucking Republican conservative like bullet points as she could.
Yeah, well, because she wasn't expecting pushback.
Yeah, of course.
That she was like, oh, I'm in a safe space, right? Like, isn't that what liberals call it, right? So she thought, she was like, I got Peter's dad over here, this fucking jackass, and then I got Brian Kilmeade. This guy's head is made of milkshakes, so he's not gonna say anything. Yeah, it turns out, like, sometimes, like, fucking Brian Kilmeade is like, no, wait, hold on a second, like, two ball bearings smashed into each other inside my head. I got some fucking points to make, and he did. He made valid points, and I can't believe I'm sitting here. I'm like, Brian Kilmeade is 100% correct.
This is like the Always Sunny version of Fox News. Like, Brian Kilmeade is right sometimes.
Right? Like, what the fuck is going on? That was amazing. Holy shit! That woman should not be on television telling people anything, like, ever, about anything. She is a waste of time. All right, so we weren't here last week. I wasn't able to make it, so we are back and we're fired up. Got to shit on whoever that lady is on Fox News. I don't even give a shit what her name is. Don't put that lady on TV anymore. She's a moron. Okay, period. Like,
even by Fox News standards.
That's
a low bar.
Not by Fox News standards. By Fox and Friends standards, she's an idiot. Holy shit, that's even worse. Because they got a parade of fucking morons over there.
Not to take this down a Fox rabbit hole. Crooked put out a video of Tommy Vitor watching, like, Gutfield clips to see if it could piss him off. Greg Gutfield is
the worst.
Really bad at comedy.
He's not.
Thinks comedy is.
He's not good.
Yeah, and yet apparently he has the highest rated, like, late night show on television right now, even, like, bigger than, like, the network.
That's crazy.
Late night shows, which is insane.
Crazy. That's crazy. He's not funny, dude. He's not funny. He's just like a prick. Like, yeah. And look, don't get me wrong. I love an asshole comedian. I do. Like, some of my favorite comedians are like, their whole shtick is that they're dickheads. Like, and that's fine. But you should be funny. And he's not funny. He's awful. Because conservatives are not funny. They're not. It's hard, like, inherently, because they are defending the system. Like, you're defending the status quo. The whole point of comedy is to push against it. So, like, by the raw definition of what comedy truly is, no. Like, even the jester is the only person who could make fun of the king, dude. You don't get up there and be like, the king is awesome. He's got a huge dick. That's my set, everybody. Like, that's not funny, dude. That sucks. That's why Fox News always prefers to be in the opposition than in the winning majority. They hate it because it's like, there's nothing, like, we can't, like, it's not fun, but it's great to make up lies and bullshit. But the problem is, Gutfield is not funny because conservative comedians are not funny. Go find me the funniest conservative comedian. What, the fucking idiot with the puppets? That guy sucks. He sucks. The blue collar comedy guys, like, I guess Jeff Foxworthy was, like, hot shit in the 90s, but his comedy isn't even, like, really conservative as much as it's just rural.
It's not political. Yeah.
It's just rural. Like, and that's fine. Like, I've laughed at a Jeff Foxworthy joke. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I haven't. Bill Engvall, he's the shittier version of that guy, which is weird because that guy is awful. And then, like, Larry the Cable Guy's not funny to me. He's just like but again, it's not political. He's just kind of like dumb redneck jokes, right? Which, if that's your thing, that's cool. Like, everybody's got their thing. And then Ron White. Ron White's funny. Ron White is not a conservative comedian.
I don't think Ron White is even a conservative.
No, he's not. Like he might be like from the South, and he might even have conservative views. But that dude he's kind of just an alcoholic who's hilarious. Like he is. But he doesn't talk about political shit. Like he doesn't. But there are tons of liberal comics who talk about political shit and are fucking absolutely funny. Like and that's not just me. Like they actually have fan bases. Like, so I'm just saying, like, nah, conservatives aren't funny. Fuck out of here. And I will put that up. I will put liberal comedians up against conservative comedians all day.
Dennis Miller, arguably the most popular conservative comedian, and that guy was barely funny
before he became conservative.
Before
he became conservative, and then when he became conservative, Jesus, his comedy is awful.
Actually,
we get it, dude. You have a great vocabulary.
You know who the best conservative comedian is at this point, Jay? Like for real.
Okay,
Bill Maher.
Oh, that's like a double dig. Because fuck that guy. Guy sucks. Ugh, I'll never watch his show again. When he called himself the N-word, I was like, I'm done. Thanks. I'm a house nigger. No, you're not. You're a very rich white man who's just a surly asshole. It's annoying. Shut up. All right, let's get into it. I want to talk about stupid people, Brad. I do. Other stupid people.
Yeah, but continue talking about stupid people. I think what you meant to say.
Yes, that's going to be, by the way, a bit of a overarching topic this week.
I mean, the whole show basically.
Yeah,
is a running theme of idiocy.
This story I will preface by saying these people are idiots, and they also ruin something cool. Department of Justice says that a film crew was present on January 5th, the day before January 6th, on January 5th, during a meeting between the leaders of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio and Oath Keepers leader Stuart Rhodes both met for 30 minutes in an underground parking garage on January 5th, 2021. Obviously, this is the day before the January 6th insurrection. Recently, we were going to talk about this last week, but we were off. Enrique Tarrio was arrested and also charged with conspiracy, the same as Stuart Rhodes. These morons had a secret meeting where Tarrio even said that he, quote, cleared all the messages on his phone before he was arrested before January 6th. Like 2 or 3 days before that, because he was told like he wasn't allowed in DC, right? Because he spent January 6th in Baltimore. And he even says, like, I cleared all my phone, my phone of messages before I got arrested. I knew that was coming and all this other stuff. But they had a film crew there. Not a secret film crew that they didn't know was there. I think that at least from what I can understand from this article, prosecutors say they had, quote, a documentary film crew. These guys documented their underground meeting to commit a crime. They quite literally took notes on a fucking criminal conspiracy. Stringer Bell would be furious.
I will say, to their credit, at least they believe the bullshit they're slinging, because you don't have a documentary film crew recording this shit unless you think you're going to go down as fucking heroes or something. Like if this is going to be something that's going to be worth fucking watching, you're like, oh, we have to record this for the historical record so that we can run this shit on Netflix and people can be like, these guys were awesome. So like, I guess it's admirable that they believe the dumb shit that they believe, and they're not just like Tucker Carlsoning it for profit, essentially.
Right.
I mean, it's not actually cool. Like, it's kind of fucking scary, but like, I guess if you're gonna do something terrible, doing it for the right reasons makes it,
right.
At least
right. At least you believe it. You believe it. I mean, that makes you like sad and dangerous all for other reasons, which we'll get into because there's a little bit more to this story. But yeah, at least you're a person who's like, no, you're a person of your convictions, right? You're saying like, hey, we take this shit seriously. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson's like, I don't believe any of this. I'm trying to get that Swanson money. I'm rich. Fuck poor people. But yeah, no. Clearly, the Proud Boys and Enrique Tarrio and Stuart Rhodes actually believe this, right? So that's one thing. Here's the part that they ruin. The thing that they ruin that really bothers me. It's not the White Claw tucked into the tack vest of Enrique Tarrio in this image, which I just find humorous. Like, look, like what kind of fake ass like George Patton fucking bullshit nonsense pose is he trying to pull off? Right, like you're right. He's got the flag in the background, right? Like that part, like is not like I can't help but find that funny. Right, like most of these guys are just beer swilling jackasses, right? Like they're like, I just want to fight somebody. It's like, all right, you're conservative and tough now, whatever. Like, all right, like, dude, you're just like punching a bunch of like skinny Antifa kids. Like, you're not doing anything like all that serious. Like, just relax. No, what pisses me off is I'm a huge fan of Mad Max Fury Road. And this asshole is wearing what I would argue is a very cool War Boys hat, but now it's ruined because these dickbags decided to put it in yellow, and now it's associated with the fucking Proud Boys. That's a badass hat, man. I would have bought that hat if I saw it in the store. It's cool, but I can't now. Thanks. God damn it, conservatives suck. Like, could you just keep ruining shitty comedy and stop ruining things I love? Like, I like Mad Max Fury Road. They've awesome. Even ruined innocuous things. So, like, you know how like okay sign. You say like ridiculous shit about your pets and act fucking nonsense around them because that's just what you do. Because pets are fucking cool things, right? Cool, cool little animals. So, like, when my cat's like sits up like super tall, head in the air, I'm just like, oh man, look how proud that dude looks. And I was like, oh, you're such a proud boy. And my wife's like, what? I'm like, oh no. They've ruined it. Say it. They ruined it. It's gone forever. God damn it, you fucking sons of bitches. No, they are the worst. If nothing else, they've ruined a sweet ass hat and Brad's ability to call his cat a proud boy. Yeah, that's the worst thing they've done. And apparently ruined the idea of walking around with a White Claw and a tack vest. Like, because I mean, to be fair, they can have that. Like, I'm not really about these guys are literally me have a bandolier of White Claw to my fucking chest as I walk around in public. A bandolier. Picture it. Yo, he looks wild, dude. Like, this picture of Enrique Tarrio is about as pitch perfect of the modern version of a tough guy conservative of like, I still smoke cigarettes because they tell us not to. Like the War Boys hat, while again, very solid font choice. I like it. It's you're promoting characters who were just mindless idiots throwing themselves like to their own deaths, like literally spray painting their face saying witness me, because basically their blonde-haired psycho leader wanted them to just throw themselves at villains to literally kill themselves trying to stop them. Like, do they understand what the War Boys were? I mean, they're probably. I doubt that they're relating it to that context. Like, it's probably a cool name that they thought of. I mean, it'd be good. It's a nice bit of irony, right? That's what they're going to call themselves, right? Like, and considering that's exactly what they're doing, what they're essentially you're just sacrificing yourself for, like in Morton Donald, like that's what you're doing, like, you fucking dumbass. Yeah, so yeah, they ruined it. They fucking ruined it. Damn it. Who does have worse hair? Who has a worse hairline? A Morton Joe or Donald Trump? I mean, I feel like you're just saying the same name twice. Like, Morton Joe was awesome though. Like, that mask was fucking dope. That guy died in a horrendous way. Good God. But yeah, he deserved it. That guy died in real life, unfortunately. Hugh Key's Brian or whatever his name is. But that dude was awesome. That dude was a great villain. Yeah, and he was also in the first Mad Max, I believe. So yeah, look, those guys are dumb. Like you documented your conspiracy, dude. Like, how long you think these guys are going to go to jail? Because now, like, people thought
not as long as they should.
But people thought Stuart Rhodes, in all seriousness, people thought Stuart Rhodes, when he got indicted, him and a couple of other Oath Keepers, like on conspiracy charges, they were like, like they're not going to be able to make this stick. You know what? Hold on. I'm gonna hold for that question. I'm gonna hold for that question until I read this next part, because I think it's important for people to hear before they think about it. So there's another document. The document Jan 6K shows a plan to storm other government buildings on that same day. New details from evidence cited in the indictment of Enrique Tarrio, the former head of the far-right Proud Boys, reveals a plan with similarities to what unfolded at the Capitol. The document found by federal prosecutors in the possession of the far-right leader contained detailed plans to surveil and storm government buildings around the Capitol. The document, titled 1776 Returns, would have had it had directions for occupying 6 House and Senate office buildings and the Supreme Court on January 6th to do sit-ins. Which, dude, if you try to take over the Supreme Court, this ain't the civil rights movement, dude. Ain't no sit-in. They gonna kill you. Like, you realize that? Like, they are going, like, if you had taken those buildings, they would have put in strike teams and they would have killed all of you. Like, it's not a question. Like,
what are they doing? What are they worried about the Supreme Court anyway? They already have they already have that shit.
We're gonna sit in. Like, it's like,
let's get the black guy. I'm on your side though. Like,
too late, motherfucker. We don't read. Like, get out of here. We'll watch the news. Get out of here. We don't know shit.
My wife's right outside, for Christ's sake.
yeah, that story. Yo, Clarence Thomas had the fucking unmitigated gall to say, "Oh, the Supreme Court might start to get politically compromised." Really? Really? It might happen? Dude, take a look in the fucking mirror.
I'd hate to see what that looks like.
Dude, roll over at night and put, your pubes on your wife. The call is coming from inside the pube covered Coke can. What are you talking about, dude? Your wife is incredibly fucking compromised, and so are you. Holy shit. So yeah, they had these plans. They don't know who wrote up the plans. Incidentally, the New York Times article says the people familiar with the document said other evidence the government has gathered suggested that it may have been provided to Mr. Tarrio by one of his girlfriends at the time. Oh, Chris Tarrio or Enrique Tarrio, just like knocking him down out there with his. I mean, hey, ain't no laws when there's White Claw. So I guess this guy was like, this guy was really making it happen. Like, I don't know. But yeah, apparently, maybe one of his mini girlfriends gave it to him. So now I'll re-ask that question. How many years do you think they will get, considering now that we have like real conspiracy between the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, not just them on their own, but actually a coordinated effort between multiple groups?
Well, it's tough without seeing the strength of the case that the government's going to lay out. I would imagine it's pretty strong, considering that they've been taking their time and, getting their ducks lined up before even making arrests in this instance. I will tell you this, regardless of what they get sentenced with, if they're found guilty, if you want to make sure they stay in prison, you better come out to vote in 2024, because if you don't, the maximum term that they will sit in jail will probably be about 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Because immediately Trump will pardon them, or whatever Republican probably will. Mm-hmm. Well, no, I won't say that. Trump is the only Republican I think that's going to run for president that would pardon them. I think so. Who else? I
don't know.
DeSantis. Josh Hawley, maybe.
DeSantis would. Josh Hawley, I don't think has a snowball chance in hell.
You think DeSantis would?
Sure. Would? Why not? Dude, he wants to be the next populist leader. Like, why do you think that he's doing all the shit that he's doing in Florida? We're going to talk about him later in the show. But
wow,
he has seen the path forward to winning the Republican Party, and it is through populism.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like you need policies.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe the very famous philosopher once said, I believe his name was Proximo, win the crowd, right? Like that's it. Just win the crowd, Maximus, just win the crowd. And then that guy died. Got stabbed to death, which was fucking sad.
Yes, he did.
He was a great actor, by the way. Brad, I know this is a story close to your heart. By the way, I think that if they actually get found guilty, which I think is probably pretty good chance, by the way, before we move on, I think they might throw the book at them. I think there is a good chance that they throw like 30 years at these guys. I think they want to take them off the table. I
wish I could be as optimistic as you when it comes to this stuff.
Well, I don't know. Like, again, I don't know if they'll win the case. I think that if they do, I think they're going to try to throw the book at them. They're not going to give these guys 4 years. Like, they need to take those guys completely off the table so that either, like, probably Stuart Rhodes, he'll die in prison. Meh, don't care. And I think you need to make sure that this Proud Boy asshole, like, you need to make him completely irrelevant to like their entire movement. Like, just destroy his life. You have to, because you have to make it so that like you fucking assholes better keep to the fucking White Claw, like frat party fucking bullshit, and don't ever peek your head out on some serious shit. Like, they have to break these guys if they really want this shit to stop. They have to. And by the way, those aren't the only two guys from the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys who are indicted. Like, I think the Proud Boys have like 5 or 6 guys indicted for conspiracy. Those like the bigger name guys, nah, yo, if they get found guilty, they're going to jail. Like, that's it. They're going to try to rip the head off of both of those organizations at the same time. I get it, and they should. I hope they win the case.
But at the same time, like, there's always something to rise up in their place because there's always fucking nutters.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. So who knows? But I think if that is within the max sentence that they can throw at these guys, I think they're going to go for the max. And they should. They absolutely should. Fucking pile on. Brad, this story is near and dear to your heart. The truck convoy, Brad, this definitely not astroturfed situation that is happening inside the heart of democracy in and around DC. The convoy truckers are upset. One convoy trucker is upset. He bitterly complains about Beltway drivers giving him the middle finger. He says birds flying everywhere as he's driving around. People are just like, go fuck yourself. And apparently this guy is shocked to know that people in DC aren't conservative assholes. Like, did you do any research? DC is like mad liberal. Like, a lot of people in DC, especially in the DC area, they don't fuck with conservatives like that. No.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, so, like, they really thought they were going to come to DC and be embraced by like the fucking public. Be like, yeah, block our streets and make things really inconvenient for us to protest. What exactly are you protesting again? It's not very clear.
Again, I proposed this question on Twitter. What are they protesting?
Yeah. To which I said, is that still going on?
Right. Yeah, it is. This guy is really upset.
Ted Cruz is getting little like joyrides in their fucking trucks, like a little boy. Like, he's like, take me in the truck.
I want to go.
Wave to everybody.
Hey, everybody. Fuck Ted Cruz. Oh, man. I thought I was cool. No one likes that guy. Yeah, I'm confused. I want conservatives to like answer this question. What?
Well, according to him, according to the truck driver that's upset about getting flipped off constantly, that they're trying to straighten DC out. They're trying to clean it up. That's what this is all about. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? So really what happened is
shrug. They have no idea.
You saw a truck convoy protesting vaccine mandates in Canada. You're like, that looks fun. Let's go drive our trucks around the city and have a convoy protest of our own. And people are like, yeah, but what are you protesting? Like, what do you mean, what are we protesting? Like, what are you protesting? You'd have a fucking reason? Like, we just want to drive our fucking trucks around.
Yeah, we like trucks. Is gas $5 a gallon? No. No, we're not paid. We're definitely not paid off by anyone to do this. We have $5 a gallon gas to just burn driving around.
And he made that point. And he's like, I am a truck driver. These things get like 4 miles to the gallon. Like, who the fuck? And I've got shit to do. Like, I don't have time to fucking drive a truck to Washington D.C. to protest some fucking nonsense.
That's why that one convoy dried right up the second those Russian sanctions came in. They were like, ooh, we don't really want to go because reasons. Yeah, look, this is bullshit, right? This is AstroTurf nonsense, as most things are in the right. They do not. There's no grassroots anything on the right. No. It is all big corporate shit that gets paid. I know Republicans like to project that onto like George Soros for some bizarro reason on the left, but like, no, dude, we don't actually need corporations and hostile foreign governments to fund our very real pissed off huge fucking protests. We don't. That shit doesn't get AstroTurfed at all. Like, George Soros is paying those people. Yo, I've never received a check from George Soros a day in my fucking life. What are you kidding me? I wish. Dude, I'd quit my job and protest full time if that were true. Sounds awesome. I got things to do. Sad to say, Brad, but I don't think this truck convoy thing is going to work out. And I know you're a white man with a beard, as we established earlier, according to you and you only. You're a handsome white man with a beard. I feel like driving around a convoy is like that's your bag. So I'm sad to hear this is probably not going to have any impact whatsoever.
I feel like you just want to, maybe just come up with a reason, like a legit reason. They're like, why are you guys driving around? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm mad that fucking, tacos are going up to $3 a piece or Taco Bell or something. I don't know. Like,
right, just make it up. Make it up. You like, in the words of Chris Rock, lie to me, Jerry. Like, lie to me. Like, yo, you don't even have a reason. We're trying to straighten DC out. What does that even mean? Joe Biden's like, oh shit, are they on the Beltway? Man, all right, all right, guys, we get Joe Manchin in here.
This shit out.
Get Joe Manchin in here. Drag his tugboat in here. Let's figure this shit out. Because Billy Bob in his car that he's probably spending $185 to fill up every fucking 2 days. Like, that guy's upset. And we don't want to make Billy Bob upset, so fucking let's get it together. We've been waiting on this to happen. This is the big change. Not the civil rights movement, the trucker convoy movement. Listen to yourselves.
How many trucks are even in this fucking thing?
I think it's just one guy. Like, at this point, I think it's just one guy. It's just one lonely guy driving around, just bitching.
How do we know that he's not actually like a legitimate truck driver and he just can't find like a space to drop off whatever he's hauling because it's DC? Like, where the fuck are you going to park?
Well, and it was funny because that was actually one of the complaints I saw early on is they were bitching and complaining about like how inconvenient this city was laid out. And it's like, yeah, that's on purpose, by the way. Like, it's on purpose. It's actually designed to confuse people. But I just found that to be fucking hysterical. Like, this is not fair, and everyone hates us. I told you weeks ago, y'all bring this convoy shit to America. Like, this is the nicest it's ever going to be. You block real traffic, come up to Baltimore and block traffic. They will light that truck on fire, yo. Like, I'm telling you, yo. Like, go to New York and see what happens to you. Yo, they tip that truck the fuck over like it's like a Batman movie. Like, knock it off. Like, that shit. Canada is a lovely place. People are very nice. And they're just like, we're upset. That's not what America is. We are angry and we will light shit on fire. We will burn that truck to the ground. But go ahead and
I will say though, I can sympathize with them driving around DC. I fucking hate driving around DC.
No, I do too.
I do it in a car. But it's the absolute worst.
Yeah. No, I get it, but I find it amusing that they are just figuring this out. That's the part that amuses me. Next up, shocking news. Russia quits Council of Europe, which is a human rights watchdog group, the largest on the continent. On Tuesday, Russia quit the Council of Europe, the continent's leading human rights watchdog, preempting an expected expulsion over its attack on neighboring Ukraine. Russia is only the second country to leave the Pan-European group tasked with upholding human rights and the rule of law since its formation after World War II.
I feel like I'd be more surprised that Russia was part of the human rights group in Europe.
I mean, that is a very fair statement. They're like, well, we're here. We don't want to seem like dicks. Greece did the same thing in 1969, also to avoid expulsion. After a group of army officers seized power in a military coup, it rejoined after restoring democracy 5 years later. So, yeah, you're killing, like, they're literally bombing maternity wards now. Like, we got information about that. They're now, as of today, they are killing journalists. Whether that was on purpose or not, it remains to be seen. But 2 Fox News journalists were killed that were there, trying to report on it. Again, the world is going to have to confront Russia in very serious ways at some point. There really is. And I don't know what that looks like. But how things are going right now, it's pretty gross. And it's obviously on the backs of these poor people in Ukraine. But there's going to come a time, and I don't know if it is inspiring Russia to say, you know what, we're done with Putin. Like this is it, and that doesn't mean.
Well, I think that's the hope, is just to keep exercising soft power and economic control to hopefully disenchant Russian citizens to the point where they're like, all right, we got to get this fucking guy out of here.
Yeah,
because he's ruining our life.
I mean, he's been ruining their lives for what? I don't know, 19 years or whatever the fuck he's been in power now.
But at least he's been able to
fake it,
disguise that he's been ruining their lives for all this time.
Right, but now, like, he can't. Right, like this war makes no sense. It is just a war of aggression. It's not a war of defense. It's not a war to save anybody. It's just a straight up war of aggression. Which, by the way, we don't see on the world stage very often, right? Like in the modern era, it's normally, these guys, I mean, at least, let me rephrase that. We at least, from a U.S. perspective, we at least come up with a bullshit pretext. Like, they don't even come up with a bullshit pretext. And like,
I mean, they did come up with a bullshit,
it was a bullshit pretext. It was like, it wasn't even believable. Like, it wasn't even fucking believable of like, there's Nazis there. What? Right. So, and then they even sent their own people. They even sent their own people there under like false pretenses, right? They sent their military there, and it was like, it's just an exercise, and they're like, all right, cool, and they get there, and it's like, no, kill these people for real. It's like, wait, what? Huh? Like, I don't want to do that. And a lot of people don't know this. Like, a lot of the Russian army at this point, they're conscripted. So it's a lot of people who don't want to fight at all. Like these are like dissidents and things like that, or people who've spoken out against the Russian government get conscripted conveniently, and they're just like, they send their ass over there. So this idea of like everybody who's there fighting for Russia is like excited to kill in the name of the motherland is fucking bullshit. Like, that shit is not true at all. And it was funny because, like, I don't know if we talked about this 2 weeks ago, but like Ukraine is literally, they have a whole thing about offering basically $40,000 in Ukrainian money to like just drop your arms and just like start your life over in Ukraine, because so many of these soldiers are conscripted. Like, they'd be willing to do it. Like, if they don't have any family or anything else back in Russia, like to just leave and just be like, I'm done. Like,
yeah. It doesn't help that, like, if reports are to be believed, from the Western side of things, at least, like the U.S. estimates that Russia's lost between 6,000 and 8,000 ground troops so far in like 3 weeks. And again, it's not like this is entirely through very professional like military operations on the side of Ukraine. Like, a lot of times it's just regular fucking people that are defending themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and they've lost a lot of tanks and shit like that too. Like, they've lost a lot of armaments. So,
well, which is why you're seeing a lot more. Which is why you're seeing a lot more like artillery strikes and shit like that.
And air raids. Yeah, so of course.
Yeah.
Like, and look, like, what are your thoughts? We were off last week, but like there was all that talk about sending planes via, I forget which country it was, like Libya or something like that, sending planes to the Ukraine. Like basically the U.S. would basically get these planes to another country, and that other country would send them on to Ukraine to fight back. And basically the U.S. was like, seems like a bridge too far. We don't want to step in that directly. What are your thoughts? I mean, we're giving them Stinger missiles and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that if you are helping supply arms for defense purposes, which we've been doing for a long time, like it's not like that's a new development. Like that's kind of just maintaining the status quo. I think you're good there. I think you just have to be very careful about doing something that would overtly provoke Putin, because you don't want to get dragged into a full-scale military conflict. And if you do something to provoke him into reacting in such a way that would draw you into it, and then you're kind of forced to respond. I'm not saying that we don't get to that point anyway, because I don't know, as the situation continues to unfold, how desperate Putin gets.
Right.
And if he feels like he's slipping, like power is slipping from his grasp, like what does he do? Like does he pull the nuclear option? Like does he do anything just to maintain and control, which is the scary part about it. Like that's the part that's the most nerve-wracking, is that you just don't know what depths he's willing to go to, depending on if he sees, himself losing control of the situation. So I'm fine with not escalating things, especially as things seem to, I mean, it's a fucking war, so it's fucking awful, but it's not like Ukraine's getting overrun right now.
Right. Right.
So
yeah, I don't know what the line is, right? Like obviously we don't want to do a no-fly zone. That's a disaster, right? Or potentially a disaster. Like spoiler alert.
No, it would be an fucking disaster. Like,
right, because the second a plane gets shot down, is that we're in a fucking full-on hot war with them, and it's
so funny. They've been doing polling on that, because that's been the popular thing for the last couple of weeks. Is like, oh, we should do no-fly zone. Like people are just fucking saying that shit, and so like they did polling where they did like the first question, like, do you think that the U.S. should enact a no-fly zone over Ukraine against the Russians? And like when you ask it that way, like 65% of people are like, yeah, absolutely. And then when you ask the follow-up question where it's like, hey, if instituting a no-fly zone is considered a hostile act towards Russia and forces escalation, like, do you think we should do it? And then it becomes like 70% are like, oh no.
No.
Definitely.
And look, it's not because we don't think like, oh, we would, we couldn't beat Russia in a war, whatever. People just not like, people don't want us in another hot war. And a hot war with Russia is a different fucking story. Because quiet as it's kept, right? Not even quiet. Like we have been fighting as the big dog against a small dog in all of our recent wars. The world has not seen two behemoths fucking going at each other in a long time, right? Like, if you think about it, like, not really since, I mean, if you want to go
the Korean War,
like maybe the Korean War, if you want to go back, like if you want to go back to maybe the 80s with like Iran, Iraq, right? But even that was like, Iraq just fucking
that was a glorified proxy war, though. Honestly,
yeah, I mean, it was
like in a lot of ways. So,
I mean,
like
kind of all wars are proxy wars to some extent.
True, but
right, but like,
so then, I guess either Korea or World War II would be the
right. Like we have not seen two superpowers go at each other like that. And look, the world doesn't want that. The superpowers don't want it, like they don't. And look, I'll be honest. This is not like me thinking like we're so fucking badass or whatever, but we would kick the shit out of Russia, dude. Like nuclear bombs set aside, we would. Like I think it's clear our military is better trained than theirs, because again, they have to conscript people. Like it's not the same. It's not the same, right? Like I'm not the same as some dude who's like wants to go to war, right? Like I'm a different type of person. They'd be like, "Here's a gun, Jay." I'd be like, it's not really for me. Come on, I just podcast about it. Like it's just not for me, right? But somebody who's like, I want to go in the military, I want to train to do those things. That's a very different type of person, right? It is. So I do think like in a straight up like we got people on the ground fighting against people on the ground type of shit, I think we would dominate a lot. However, I don't want that. And I don't think Russia wants that shit. I don't care how much saber rattling you do. Those two countries don't want that shit. They don't. Like, yeah, they lost 6,000 guys in Ukraine. What do you think it would look like if America dropped 150,000 troops in fucking Ukraine and were like, let's fucking go? Each side would lose 30,000, 40,000 people, dude. It would be a nightmare for both nations. It's not good. We don't need that shit. So I don't know where the line is.
It is
but I don't want to get
interesting
anywhere
though
closer.
when stuff like this. It is interesting though when stuff like this pops off, because it really does kind of show where you land with this stuff, because there's a lot of folks that were very anti-interventionism from a hey, we shouldn't be poking our nose into these conflicts, especially with these smaller powers. They're like, oh no, we definitely need to send military aid, or we definitely need to help support them militarily. And thought you didn't want to do this stuff anymore. I thought that this was not your jam.
Right. Well,
I wonder what's different about this situation than other situations that you've spoken out against.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Well, Brad, I think it's the difference between, if you're watching on video, the difference is this palm of my hand and the back of my hand. Very different circumstances, Brad. Very different. But yeah, I mean, I don't think the world wants a hot war between America and Russia. And again, everybody, oh, America's tough and Russia's tough. Those two nations are the biggest proponents of not going to war. I can guarantee you. That's why those two nations have been doing proxy wars since Vietnam, dude. They're just
I can also tell you that Russia arguably is probably the biggest paper tiger on the world stage.
They probably
today in reality, they have an air of strength about them, but the country's kind of fucked. It's been kind of fucked for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
It's not a good place to live. It's, and the only thing they do have is nuclear weapons. That's really the only thing that would truly makes them something to be feared, is that they have that option that they can fall back on. But as far as just ground troops and stuff like that,
no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, look, again, I heard a scenario in which someone could see Russia using nukes, which is basically NATO forces just pushing further into Russia. In this, they beat, NATO forces, the rest of the world, all right, let's fucking rock and roll. And they all join up together and they're sending all these NATO troops. And they beat Russia back out of Ukraine, but then start advancing into Russia. That's when you've got Putin, we don't have another choice, right? Because we're afraid they're going to make it to the fucking Duma, and we're in a world of fucking.
Well,
trouble.
and that's
never going to happen.
Not that using nuclear, not that using nuclear armaments are ever justified, but that's a justifiable response, at least. If you're acting from a position of defense,
right? The world is in
more credibility. Yeah,
right. The world is incurring in your sovereign nation.
Yeah.
Ironically. Right, hey, how could you guys come into our sovereign nation? Why do you think we're here? You remember that? Nah, that was last week. That's different. But I think ultimately the way that Russia loses any war, including this one, is to crush them financially. Just crush them to the point where they don't have the money to move troops. They don't have the money to do anything.
Like I said, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Like cutting off your opponent's supply lines has always been the way that you win the fucking war. It's just that the lines are a little bit more technologically advanced now than they were, 80 years ago.
And actually, it makes it a little bit easier, right?
Yeah,
the world's just turn that tap right the fuck off. Keep going. And you're we don't have any more money. We know. Yeah, no, that was the plan. Fuck you. I mean, the fact that Russia was we've got $600 billion hidden, and they were you had $600 billion.
You see the $600 billion, that's all going to these guys now to help rebuild all the shit that you destroyed. So have fun with all that.
Yeah, we'll take that. We'll put that on the bill. Whatever's left over, we'll give it right back to you. No problem. So yeah, it's just the world is so interconnected that you can't do shit like that. And so, yeah, you're right. You don't. This idea of having to use hard power with weapons of mass destruction is largely unnecessary. Just cripple them financially. Guess what? You cripple a country financially long enough, people will come out of their houses and want that government gone. They will, dude. Yep. People are not going to sit and starve to death or wait in fucking bread lines again. Like, they're just not. They're going to be like, all right, cool. Let's fucking go. Because they will take the risk of trying to take down the government over starvation. They just will. And so, you know.
Well, and again, despite the challenges with getting information out in that country, especially right now, with Putin threatening anyone that speaks out publicly against the war with 15 years of fucking prison time, which is insane. They're still finding ways to leak it through. Again, like situations like Anonymous, like coming through on the side of good, the 2 times a year that it happens, where they're, forcing like this information onto Russian, computer screens and stuff like that. So,
right. Yeah. It turns out Anonymous still around, actually doing.
Yes. Still around, and occasionally actually does the right thing. So good for them.
they mostly don't even do the wrong thing. They just don't do anything. This is mostly it. It's like, where are you? I thought you guys were cool. Put on those goddamn Guy Fawkes masks and go to work.
Like we're too busy being edgelords right now, so leave us alone. Like, hey, there's something serious happening. Oh, all right, we'll get off our ass.
Here we go. Let's go, guys. Let's put on a religious zealot's mask. That's a good. You know what? All right. Guy Fawkes was awesome. No, he wasn't.
I mean, that movie was cool the first time you saw it, and then less so.
Yeah. A lot less.
I enjoyed it the first time.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. This is a cool knife work. I will say that. This is like some.
I'll tell you what. Would you say that it's definitely the best of their non-Matrix films?
Yeah. All right. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So
I'll give you that.
Again, not a high bar to clear, but
No.
you gotta step over it somewhere.
No. Hugo Weaving was dope as fuck in that movie, though. He was he was chewing up scenery, man. In the best of ways. In the best of ways.
Well, him and who was the guy that was like the chancellor?
He was so good. I forget the guy's name. Yeah, he was awesome. Jesus Christ, that movie was just like acting. Like they were like for a movie based on a comic book. Like they were delivering some pretty heavy dialogue. But Alan Moore is a very good writer, but a complete kook madook. So that's a technical term. It's just a fucking
I mean, I've loved that we're the only political podcast in the world that probably just linked together the war in Russia or the war in Ukraine and 2005's V for Vendetta. So
yes,
we got that going for us.
That's right. And calling a professional writer a kook madook. You're not going to get that anywhere else. That's why you listen.
That's why you give us $5 a month.
That's right. Speaking of kook madook, perfect segue. Tulsi Gabbard labeled a Russian asset by pushing U.S. biolabs in Ukraine claim.
Remember when everyone again got really upset at Hillary Clinton for saying what was true?
Look,
but they didn't want to hear it. Remember all the neo-progs, Jay, who were like, I really want Bernie Sanders to win, but if he doesn't, I'm throwing my lot in with Tulsi Gabbard. And we all said to them,
Are you
sure? Are you sure that's a good idea?
That's not what I said. I think I said, are you fucking insane? She's crazy.
Have you heard her economic policies? I have. Have you heard literally all of the other ones?
Yeah, they're all terrible. Okay. That's a weird image. You know what? Do you guys remember when Tulsi Gabbard was just like posting hot chick workout videos on Instagram, like when she was running for president? I do. It was awesome. But yeah, she was just like, hey, check out me doing squats. I'm like, all right. I mean, I'm not going to vote for you, but like, okay, you're very attractive. Aloha or whatever. Mahalo. So like, here's the thing. Tulsi Gabbard's an idiot. and like, it's almost shocking how ridiculous of a person she's become. So
would you arguably say that maybe she always was that person, but because she ran for Congress out of fucking Hawaii, which might as well be on another planet in terms of
Culture.
of U.S. interests, and just didn't have to be in the forefront. And then she's like, I'm going to run for president, and it's like, oh, I actually have to talk and say things now that people are going to listen to me.
Okay, well, yes. But
or do you think she's got a little right-wing grifter in her?
Yes, but I agree with you, but not for the reasons that you stated. I think she's always had it in her, like she's always been a right-winger. Why? Because you're missing one major point, Brad. She grew up in a fucking cult, a right-wing cult.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that used to eat their leaders like fingernails or some shit like that. Pretty fucking gross. Those people are nuts. They're pretty solidly insane. She has always been weird, and I think that she has this ability to attract people in the same ways. Now, you want to talk about linking shit up? Check this out. She has the same thing going on with her that Kanye West has, and what I mean by that is, her followers and Kanye West's followers who support everything he does in spite of his mania. Doesn't matter that he says and does crazy things that don't make sense. They are so perversely obsessed with his ability as a musician that they think, because they don't understand it, that it's genius. It's the same thing with Tulsi Gabbard supporters. They are not used to hearing a Democrat so heavily criticize the Democratic Party that they don't really listen or pay attention to what she says. They just like that she criticizes it. So she says things that are quote unquote abnormal for a Democrat to say. So they think, well, she must be different, which means she must be correct. No, she is fucking crazy and says batshit nonsense. You have to listen to the details the things that they say, not just the fact that they are saying things that you've never heard before. That's the point, right? That's a pretty good link.
That's an excellently cogent point, and I think that I agree with all of it, Jay. Except, have you considered that the DNC is just biased against her?
Is the DNC in this scenario the Pete Davidson of situations? I'd like to think so. I just like
Eric Swalwell's over here being like, I'm just trying to have a decent party right now. I'm trying to take care of this party as best we can. Like, why don't you grow the fuck up, Tulsi Gabbard? Like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's a pretty good analogy, actually. I think it totally works. I think it totally works. Like, yeah, I just don't like. I am a huge fan of saying Hillary was right. Like, I feel like that should be on a t-shirt because she has been literally proven right on every aspect that they shit on her about. Every single one. Every single one.
They were so mad when she, like, remember how mad like all the fucking fake progressives were, and how mad Tulsi Gabbard was.
Glenn Greenwald, how dare you go after her, calling her a Russian asset? No, dude, like, Hillary was right. Like, I get it, guys. You don't like Hillary Clinton. We all understand that. But she's not dumb. She understands this shit, She's been working in politics for decades. She gets it. She knows bullshit when she hears it, and she calls it out. She's not always on the right side of every issue. No doubt about it. I'm not some
she's not the most polished politician, the most gifted orator in the entire world.
No,
she's not
definitely fucking not. But she is not dumb, dude. And if she makes statements like this, she's generally fucking correct. Like, she generally is pretty correct, and she was right. So Tulsi Gabbard, we're kind of burying the lead here. Tulsi Gabbard went on to assert, and this article, I think does a good job. This is in Newsweek. Says Gabbard has asserted accurately that the U.S. funds biolabs in Ukraine. However, she's asserting that they're making bioweapons, which is not true. Like, yeah, the U.S.
which as Adam Kinzinger, a Republican, pointed out, that she was spreading actual Russian propaganda. Like, that's something that Russians actually say.
Yeah.
Which is fucking false.
Yeah. They just make the shit up. And they use it as a bullshit pretext. One of their many, besides the Nazis, this bullshit pretext to go in and attack Ukraine unilaterally, right? But she just repeats the shit. Gabbard, it's an undeniable fact that the U.S. funds biolabs. I'm going to need context on that. You can't just say that and then just make the leap that that they're bioweapons labs, that they're going to make something, and if those get attacked, then all of this stuff will be released. Well, okay, Tulsi, let's say that I take you at your word. I don't, but let's say that I take you at your word, that you're right, that there's all of these dangerous things at these biolabs, not that they're doing like biological research, because the U.S. funds those things, like even in Wuhan and stuff like that. Yeah, they fund those things so that like when shit pops off in those areas, like they all have a connection and be like, holy shit, we saw this. Let's all work together. That's what it's for. I know conservatives think that we should all live in little fucking bubbles and never talk to each other. And then when shit goes bad in another part of the world, we just turn away and just go, that's not our problem. But that's not how the world actually works.
Roll the window up so that the fucking bad air doesn't come in.
Yeah, make sure the nuclear bombs don't go through your skin. Just fucking put up a plastic sheeting. Good Lord. Remember when they told people that in case of a nuclear bomb during 9/11, just put up duct tape and plastic sheeting so that the nuclear material won't go through your skin. It can't get through duct tape, guys, and plastic sheeting from fucking Home Depot. Good Lord. What was that guy? What was the guy who went on television and said that? He has a connection to my wife's family, incidentally. It's fucking hilarious. I can't remember his name, but my sister-in-law used to babysit his kids back in the day. He was in the Bush administration. I'm like, wait, when she told me, I was like, wait, what? Like, that's insane. It's insane. Did he ever tell you about plastic sheeting? He was like, he seemed like a nice guy back then. I'm like, yeah, that guy was an idiot now. Like,
I mean, can we really say anything when duck and cover drills used to be a thing during the 50s, 60s? Like, just hide under your desk and that'll protect you from the nuclear blast that's coming.
Well, you just won't be able to see the light as you and your friends are evaporated. Just telling kids stupid shit. It's just utterly stupid shit. And they're like, oh no, that'll save it. This $19.99 desk, that'll protect me from a nuclear blast. But whatever makes you feel good. So look, Tulsi Gabbard, again, the Kanye West of politics here. Like, she is fucking worthless. She's worthless.
I feel like that's disrespectful to Kanye. At least Kanye made positive contributions to society once upon a time.
I mean, College Dropout was a good album. I'll give you that. I can't pretend it wasn't a fire album. I loved it. But the point here is that she is just saying things without context so that people will fill in the blanks and call it a bioweapons lab and just be like, oh yeah, this is all scary and we shouldn't do that. By the way, if you're making that argument, again, let me take her at her word. If you're making that argument, shouldn't you be saying, hey, Russia, could you stop bombing random things? Because that's the problem. It's not the U.S. The U.S. isn't using Stinger missiles and blowing up shit in Ukraine. They're using it to attack Russia as they are doing an incursion into the country. So again, your point, even though you're trying to make it against the U.S., actually makes it in the U.S.'s favor. And it makes it in the favor of the rest of the world, not in the favor of Russia. You giant Russian asset. Tulsi Gabbard is a rushing nesting doll of bullshit.
She fucking sucks. I feel like that was a I feel like that you shoehorned a show title into there. I feel like you workshopped that line before you tried.
I didn't, but I like it. I do like it. Okay, that's the end of the free portion for this week's episode of Look Forward. Make sure you go to lookforwardshow.com/premium. Sign up for premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50 for the full year.